هلو گایز، چطورین بچه‌ها؟ خوش اومدید یه ویدیو دیگه. این بار اومدیم با پارت بعدی داستان های واقعی ترسناک. خیلی وقت دیگه نذاشتم، خیلی وقت مطالعه داشتم ویدیو گیم می‌ذاشتم. پس اگه این ویدیو رو دوست داشتین حتما ویدیو لایک کنید، چنل سابسکرایب کنید، زنگ بغلش هم بزنید، چنل من بالای تصویر میاد، حتما اونجا ما رو فالو کنید. سوشال میدیای دیگه داخل دیسکریپشن هست، توییتر، ردیت، تویچ دیسکریپشن هست، حتما با اونام سر بزنید. دیگه گفتنیا رو گفتم دیگه، خودتون کارو توییتر دیگه نمیتونم بگم، انگار باید بگم پروژه ایکس، نمیدونم حالا چی میشه، ولی من فعلا به اسم توییتر میگم. پس بدون معطلی let's play. خب
I'm 27 years old. I live alone in a rural town in Virginia, about 2 blocks away from my parents. My parents are both in their 60s, and my mom has become a very worrisome woman in her old age. Sometimes she walks over uninvited and lets herself in, since I had regrettably given her a key, which can get a bit annoying. Like if I would be out really late on weekends at a bar or with women, I would sometimes come home to my mom sitting in the living room waiting, worried sick. I know you may just think,
ببین برادر من چیز عادیه، مادره و نگران میشه. من چرا تصویرم پایینه اینجوری بشم، مادره و نگران میشه. پس شما بی خود میکنی میخوری که راجع به مادرت اینجوری صحبت میکنی. و بریم ویدیو چطور بهت زیاد
oh my god,
چطور بهت نیست، راسته همه اینا رو گوش بدین. پند و اندرز با ردمی.
that's crazy. Why not just put your foot down and tell her to stop? Well, because you don't know my mom. It's very hard to describe her, but she's the kind of worrisome, innocent little lady that you just can't bring yourself to go against.
نه پس بیا جلو مامانت وایسا.
And I hate to mention, she also has mild dementia. Anyway, this was Saturday night. I think it was around 2 in the morning. I was at a nearby club with a group of college friends, really the only place to hang out in this boring town, and I was getting ready to head home. I said goodbye to all my friends and walked the 3 blocks it took to get back to my house. I walked up my front stoop in my drunken haze and dug my hand in my pocket for my keys. When I grabbed the doorknob, I realized it was unlocked. My mom was here again. I quietly opened and shut the front door, locking it behind me. I put my keys on the kitchen counter and found a note written in my mom's handwriting saying, "You forgot this at our house, next to the box of half-eaten cake my parents didn't want." I didn't see my mom anywhere, so I assumed she must have gone upstairs to sleep in the guest bed until I got back, which is something she would commonly do as well. Then I heard footsteps upstairs, confirming it, and that's when I sighed once again. 27 years old, almost 3 in the morning, and she still has to wait up and treat me like a child. I ran upstairs to check the guest bed, empty, along with all the bathrooms. I was afraid Mom was having one of her episodes due to her condition, so I ran to the phone to call my dad. After 4 rings, my dad picked up in a groggy voice, asking what the hell is the matter. After I told him that I heard Mom wandering around upstairs in my house, there was a short pause, and then he said, "That's not possible, she's sleeping right next to me."
Shit. چه دستم خود رو اسپیس.
My mouth fell open as I turned my head to face the dark upstairs, and just
به خاطر همین چرت و پرتاست که من از تاریکی بدم میاد. کسایی که میگین چرا خاموش نمی‌کنی، با یک لامپ بر بالای سر میگیری میخوابی، این دلیلش اینه که بنده که شدم شبیه رنده باید چیکار کنیم؟ یه چراغ روشن میذاریم که ببینیم اطرافمونو، که اگه جنی، دایناسری وارد عمل شد، حداقل با چشمان باز و دیده شدن فرد ببینیم، حداقل قاتل خودمون رو ببینیم.
barely by the light provided by the kitchen, I could see a head peering around from the corner at the top of the stairs, looking down at me. I screamed into the phone as I ran out the front door and down the street to my parents' house, explaining to my father.
رفتی بالا یه بعد بونسر گرمی زده و خویی میرفتیم تو اتاق و با هم
on the way. About halfway there, my dad told me, "All right, I'm going to call the cops," and hung up. I made it to my parents' house, where my mom was already waiting at the door, worried sick. My mom explained that she did come over to clean my kitchen a little bit and to bring over the cake they didn't want. 2 police cars pulled up in front of my parents' house, where they escorted me and my dad down the street to my
اصلا تو اگه مجرد نیستی چرا خونه مامانت وقتی میتونست اقل راحت بیاد تو خونه چرا اصلا از خونه جدا گرفتی؟
house.
خونه نزدیکتر نتونستی یعنی پیدا کنی که بگیری مثلا به مامان بابات هم نزدیک باشی حداقل این همه رو ندویی؟
One officer stayed outside with us, while 2 others went inside to investigate. It felt like 15 minutes before they came back outside and said it was clear. They checked the crawl space, the attic, everything. There was really nothing for me to report, other than the door was left unlocked and I saw the outline of a head upstairs before I ran for it. Still, I didn't feel safe sleeping in there that night, so I went back to my parents' house.
Okay.
Me and my dad are certain that my mom simply forgot to lock the door when she left, as her memory has been getting worse over the past few months. My dad has been stopping her from coming over alone from now on, which makes me both sad but also relieved. Some nights I still get paranoid that whoever was in my house that night never left and is still hiding in here somewhere.
خانم از زیر پتوت کله‌شو بیاره. نشد از زیر پتو کله بیاره. من دو منتظر همون لحظه بودم. می‌بینی داستان ها ترسناک نیست، بیشتر داره خاطره میشه. باید بزنه جرت فرت زرت فرت کنه بره. آره. خب این داستان تحویل پیتزا.
I've had a few delivery jobs that have given me the creeps. One or two that I was pretty sure I was about to be robbed. Another was a gunfight between gang members unfolding in the street I was delivering to, right as I was turning onto it. But these are just occupational hazards. Yeah, it sucks, but I guess you do get over them. Only one delivery.
من چی داخل آمریکا دارم ایران دیدین دیگه وقتی سفارش غذا میدیم معمولا با تاکسی میاد، مگر اینکه با اسنپ فود بدی احتمال داره با ماشین بیاد تو اسنپ فود. ولی وقتی با چی میدی با یعنی حالت عادی زنگ میزنی میگه الو سلام، اینجوری زنگ میزنی میگه الو سلام خوب هستین پیتزا میخواستم فلان با نوشابه و سالاد و اینجور چیزا، میگه سلام الان ارسال میشه. بعد یه یاروی با اینقدر سیبیل زنگ میزنه بهت میگه داش بیا پایین وسایلتو بگیر، میری پایین وسایلتو میگیر.
Job really, truly terrified me. The only one that scares me to think about even today. So we get an order from an address that none of us drivers had ever delivered to before. This normally causes some suspicion among us since we're always pretty wary whenever delivering to a new address. A fair few first-time deliveries have resulted in an address getting blacklisted. Sometimes they try to stiff you for money or some other scam to get free.
مثلا چطور پیتزا مجانی میخوام پول بدن که پیتزا مجانی میخوام؟ چه منطقه مزخرفی جن کنن خودشون.
Generally speaking, the drivers take turns delivering to a new address, and this time, it just so happened to be my turn. So once the order is completed and the pizzas are boxed up, I take them out to my...
سوال چقدر دارم پاز میکنم اینو. این افرادی که تحویل پیتزان گوشینشون نمیشه؟ خیلی مغزمو درگیر کرده. اصلا فکر کن این همه پیتزا پشت داشته باشی بعد هیچ کدومو نتونی بخوری. چقدر بد.
My car and punch the address into my sat-nav. It turns out the address is right on the edge of our delivery area, pretty much in the middle of absolute nowhere. It dawns on me that this could be the oldest trick in the book. Call the pizza into some hard-to-reach location, and demand it to be free once it takes more than 45 minutes to deliver. But, to my relief, I make it out onto this old dirt road with time to spare. Yet my relief doesn't last long. Not when I see the state of the address I'm delivering to. The house is so run down it looks like a squat, like it's been commandeered by the homeless as a place to avoid sleeping rough. There's a musty old pickup in the driveway, its wheels all askew from years of misuse. I mean, the place was just the very definition of haunted house. Needless to say, I wasn't expecting a particularly generous tip. As I take the pieces out from the passenger seat of my car, I start hearing this faint whining noise. My ears prick up immediately and I freeze, trying to work out just what the sound is and where it's coming from. I come to realize it's the sound of a violin being played, but more accurately, it was the sound of a violin being played very badly. These discording noises carried on as I walked up the dirt pathway toward the porch.
اونجا وسط خرابه ای بعد یه صدای ویولون هم میاد. حالا کاری نداریم، بعد یه دونه خونه تو محدود است. انتظار داشت از داخل جنگل بیاد اون صدا. مرد ویولونی.
The front door. The sound of some old violin bow being dragged across dry old strings that were way out of tune. Creepy, sure, but that's not what terrified me. When I knocked on the front door, the screaming cat violin sounds ceased instantly. A few moments of silence went by before I began to hear slow, heavy footsteps growing steadily closer. I can't be certain, but I'm almost sure I heard someone breathing on the other side. These heavy labor...
What's up? گوساله بیناموس دلغک این الان یارو نباید نفس بکشه. ای خدا ما از دست این داستان واقعی چرا واقعا اینجور چیزا رو دوست دارین شما؟ چرا 90% ویوهای چنل من به خاطر داستان واقعی باید بشه؟
For the door to open. The silence was broken by a metallic snap of the door unlocking before hurried footfalls sounded on the other side. Someone had unlocked the door, then scampered away from it as if they were overtly skittish about visitors. Hello? I got your pizza order here. I remember asking, feeling the tension rise as silence once again engulfed the scene. Come inside, mister. A childish voice came from the other side. I wanted to just turn tail and run at this point, but returning to the pizza place without the money for the pizzas would definitely mean a verbal or written warning from my manager. I already had one for turning up late. I couldn't afford another. So reluctantly, I took hold of the door handle.
اینو کجاش قایم کردی دفعه؟
So reluctantly, I took hold of the door handle, turned it, and walked inside. The interior of the house was bathed in darkness, only a handful of weak oil lamps to give me any sense of the layout. A figure was crouched on a nearby sofa, the old violin laying next to it.
There's 15 on the table there, mister.
The person sounded like a child, but they looked bigger than they should have. On the small, dusty coffee table in front of the couch, there's a pile of change in little piles. Normally, I'd have taken issue with this, but to be honest, I was desperate to get out of there at that point. I'd have taken any form of currency. As I stooped down to start sliding the little piles of coins into my cup palm, I started to hear the kid's labored breathing again, but I dared not look towards him. I could see its legs in my peripheral vision, and even then, I could see how unnaturally long they were. This person was not a child.
Sorry about the coins, mister. I saved them up. I saved them all up to afford this treat for myself. It's all I have.
I told the person not to worry in the sunniest disposition I could muster. The last thing I wanted to do at this point was upset them. I pocketed the coins, barely having counted them. I'd come up with a difference myself if I needed to. Like I said, I just wanted to get out of there. But as I turned to leave, hastily thanking the person, I caught a glimpse of the person's face in the low light of the oil lamps. They were burned, horribly burned up and down their arms and chest. The scarred flesh extended all the way up their face and head. Only the person's features were obscured by a small rubber mat.
یادم فیلم آنابل افتاده آفرینش قسمت دوم آنابل مادر آنابل همچین ماسکی رو داده بود صورتش این تیکه از صورتش حتما این فیلم رو ببینید خیلی فیلم گالی بود یا بهترین فیلم های دوره آنابل بود. یعنی اگه بخوای سه تا آنابل رو رشبندی کنی که میشه آنابل 2 که میشه آفرینش میشه اولین، بعد آنابل به خانه برمیگرده و اولین که آنابل عادی اولین قسمت آنابل میشه.
The mask didn't even cover up their entire face, only a small central portion that concealed their eyes, nose and mouth.
دماغش اگه نگاه کنی انگار رسیده با استخون.
The only thing I could really make out was that the mask had a long wooden nose,
دقیقاً
the puppet Pinocchio, whose nose would grow whenever he told lies.
چرت و پرت نگو.
The small carved eyes were blank. I averted my gaze from the mask and was unable to return it. It was one of the most hideously sad and scary things I'd ever laid eyes on. Just as I had reached the front door, I heard that same childlike voice emanating behind me.
Want to hear me play a song, mister?
Before I even had the chance to answer to tell them I was too busy with deliveries to hang out, they had grabbed the old violin next to them and began to whine out of tune. Although the strings were almost totally out of tune, I started to make out the tune they were trying for. You know the one. If you go down in the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. If you go down in the woods today, you better go in disguise. For every bear that ever...
دارک میشه تا که وسط جنگل باشی یه همچه آهنگی یه فرد دیوونه برات بخونه.
Whatever there was will gather there for certain because today's the day the teddy bears have their picnic. I was in the back of the driver's seat of my car before you could say nope, I'm out, scrambling to start the engine so I could make a quick getaway. I don't think they had any intention of hurting me. I certainly wasn't as much danger as when those idiot Crip and Blood wannabes decided to shoot it out like right in front of my car. But something about that place still creeps back into my mind while I lay there in darkness trying to sleep. Something that means I'll never, ever make another delivery there. I'll quit before I go back.
دوست نداشتم اصلا دنبال بکشم. من میارم، من شده 1000 قسمت هم واقعا بسازم بکش وارد بازی میکنم. بکش بدن همون اینجوری. خیلی ممنون که ویدیو رو تماشا کردین. پس اگه این ویدیو دوست داشتین حتما ویدیو لایک کنین، چنل سابسکرایب کنین، زنگ بغلش هم بزنین، چنل استم منو تصمیم حتما تا ما رو فالو کنید. سوشال میدیای دیگه هم میخواد دیسکریپشن هم حتما با اونام سر بزنید. پس تا ویدیوی بعدی بیسس.
Leave my paradise.